Welcome to Narrative. My name is Veronica, and today we're talking about vibe writing. And you are getting me in my most relaxed and exhausted state. I am way too tired to set up over there and have a good background and everything. So you are getting me with my cozy shirt, my hair not done, my face not done, everything. You're just getting me for this. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Vibe writing is exactly what it sounds like. You write according to a vibe. It is often closely related to motivated writing, but it's not necessarily the same thing. It is just usually kind of closely tied together. Let's start with motivated writing. It is when you only write when you feel motivated to do so. You don't push through the bad days and get writing done anyway, and you just do it when you feel like. This tends to be associated with new writers or people who don't want to make a living out of their writing, which is not a bad thing. It's just what it tends to be associated with, because if you are an author who do this, you are not going to produce the regular type of content that you're kind of required to do in order to hit your deadlines. Very simplistically put. If you are an author who can regularly create content, doing this, you are the odd one out. I'm just saying. Most people have to push through and get the words out anyway. Motivation writers tend to be the most commonly portrayed in media, which is very ironic in my opinion. It's the troubled author who is struggling with their manuscript that leaves the city to go out into a cabin and then struggle and don't write most of the time anyway because it doesn't feel right. That is a motivation writer. Not to be confused with motivational writer, because that is a completely different thing. Now, let's get into the meat of this video, which is vibe. Vibe is where you follow a specific feeling you're having. Maybe you're deep in like mystery and like that confusing kind of thing, or maybe you're very angry or very happy, whatever it is, you follow the vibe rather than motivation, which is the difference here. Vibe writing can be an extremely strong tool in your arsenal to make sure that your writing really hits emotionally for readers, but it can be difficult to establish. Vibe writing can be an extremely strong tool to have in your arsenal, especially when it comes to the emotional scenes. Why that is because when you're in those emotions and you allow yourself to look at how you're feeling and your reactions and the thought patterns, and you are able to put that onto paper, they become more realistic to the reader. So imagine you are sad. Let's imagine that you're very sad. It's a little bit darker. You just want to sit on the couch, eat an ice cream, never talk to anyone, and you feel like everything is just bad and dark. Take those feelings and put them into a scene where your characters are feeling the same thing. They will be more realistic if you're able to identify those smaller details. It's going to be extremely effective in order to tug on the heartstrings or the emotions of the readers, because they themselves most likely have similar emotions or triggers and how they display those feelings. The reason this is really effective, or can be really effective, is because our individual situations may differ, but feelings are quite universal. That's why we can use certain words to evoke feelings in our readers without necessarily explaining every intricate detail. Say, for example, a knot in your stomach. You know what that means. Or a pressure on your chest when you're struggling to breathe because you're having a panic attack, or a lump in your throat, or cold dripping down your back because of fear. These are very universal expressions of our emotions, no matter our nationality, no matter our language, all of those things we understand, because these feelings are quite similar for each and every person. So our physiological, wow, that was difficult to say, response is similar enough that if we are able to identify those minute details, we most likely will be able to invoke those feelings and make it feel more real for the reader. That's why this vibe writing can be so effective. And it doesn't have to be only negative, like it can be positive feelings as well when you're really having a lot of joy or you're feeling a lot of love, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be just negative feeling. It is just getting down to the detail and letting yourself feeling them and observing the intricacies and minute details that you are feeling. And it doesn't have to be negative stuff, by the way. It can be joy and love and all the positive stuff as well. It is all about letting yourself sit in those feelings and observe the minute details and then be able to convey that onto paper. It doesn't have to be only negative stuff. Even though we tend to see them more often as these strong emotional scenes in stories, where we seem to almost downplay the joy and the happiness and the love because the negative feelings tend to impact us more than the positive. That's a whole other video. It's a very interesting thing. It's tied to the 9 compliments, 1 criticism, and we focus on the 1 criticism kind of psychological stuff, Using your feelings to be able to dive into this can be incredibly rewarding because you're also learning things from it. Not only can you observe yourself and your habits and tendencies and all of that stuff, but you can also become a much better writer by taking time. Like, use it as a practice. Like when you're having strong emotions and everything and you're feeling like you need to get it out, if you can sit down and get it on paper, you don't necessarily need to continue feeling those strong feelings in order to replicate writing those emotional scenes well in the future. It is constantly practicing and be able to maybe if I express it this way, or maybe I use this word, or whatever may come to you in the moment, it will help you become a better writer. Vibe writing is a really strong tool to make use of for yourself, even if you don't end up publishing anything, or you just want to improve your fan fiction, whatever it may be, the reason for doing it. It can also, outside of writing, help you identify your own patterns and your own feelings and being able to put a finger on it. So it's also for me, writing has always been very therapeutic. It is something that I use to process my feelings. It's something that I use to kind of express things or explore new things. And vibe writing has been an essential tool for me to be able to not only improve my writing, but also to get to know myself a lot more. So maybe even if you're not looking to, be able to trigger these vibes when you're having them, could be interesting to explore to learn more about yourself. Just putting it out there. You probably have a pretty wide repertoire of emotions and the details that goes into them that you can call on when needed, but sometimes they're quite difficult to just, coax out. And that's what we're going to talk about now. You want to be able to choose when to be able to step into those feelings to channel them into your writing. And that can be a little bit difficult. So how do you do that? Well, funny you would ask. As if that's not the whole point of this video. The easiest, that was a lot of these. The easiest way to do it is conditioning yourself. And bear with me, I know how condition yourself can sound to some people, but that's not what I mean. It's not the bad way. It is that you want to know enough about yourself to figure out what can trigger those specific feelings for you. It is to know what can trigger that specific thing, that specific feeling you're looking for. And it's always going to be you choosing to trigger that feeling because that's what you're looking for. I would say that the most common way is to use music to do this. But I've also known people to have specific clips in TV series or specific poems, specific pieces of writing. Whatever works for you that you feel the strongest connection to, that's what you should go for. And then you go out there and you find the pieces of that media that inspires that specific feeling or vibe in you. The reason why I separate vibe and feeling is because sometimes it's a specific type of feeling, and then vibe can also be more of an atmospherical thing, like I want my story to be cozy. Okay, what causes you to feel cozy, that you start using words that you associate with coziness. Okay, so maybe the lighting is more warm and orange as opposed to sharp like it is right now. Good God, it's been cloudy all day, and as soon as I sit down and I look towards the window, there the sun is. So vibes and feelings can be different, even though feelings are always in vibes, but vibes can be more general than specific feelings. I want to stress the fact that this takes time. It's not something you do once or twice or even 5 times and then suddenly you got it. This is something you have to continuously train yourself to do. Conditioning is that you are training yourself to have a specific response to a specific trigger. That is what conditioning means. So I also heard at a recent conference that when someone is trying to get into writing mode, instead of being like parent mode or business mode, they are going into writing mode, they put a specific thing on their desk. And they have done that enough that their brain goes, I see that on the desk, that means creative, we're writing. And that is how that author easily goes between modes in her life. And same thing there, it could be a physical thing, it could be music, it could be a setting, doesn't really matter. You can do that with that as well. Right now we're talking about vibes. We're talking about vibes here, okay? It is it's the same practice, it is the same concept used for switching modes as well as triggering these emotions and the vibes that you want to access in your writing. So you can layer these if you want to. It will take time. I just want to reiterate, it will take time to achieve this, but when you do, it will be an invaluable tool for you to use in your writing. And that is because you won't have to spend so much time and effort and emotional energy on trying to figure out how to get there. It will be a much shorter distance for you to travel in order to achieve the same results or even better results. And I guess the top level of all of this is that eventually you will be able to trigger this emotion or behavior or vibe, whatever it is you're teaching yourself to trigger, simply by thinking about that piece of media that you have conditioned yourself on. And that is extremely powerful, especially in a world or publishing world where we as authors and writers are constantly expected to produce more and high quality content on a much shorter time frame. So being able to save time and your own mental health by not struggling with that blank page or trying to push through is going to help you in the long run. And that is why I support conditioning yourself. Healthy conditioning, okay? Only healthy. And that's where I'm going to leave you with this. I hope that you learned something new or something that you found interesting. And if you did, please let me know down below. If you like this type of content, do make sure to subscribe. And I hope that you have a good day or night, wherever you are in the time stream. And I will see you in the next one where I'm not so damn tired. Bye.